Okay, good morning, everybody. Sorry for a little bit of delay, but it was kind of nice to have some conversation this morning. By the way, that's why we're here, coffee and conversation. So this morning we have a great guest back with us. We haven't heard from Rusty in quite some time. Rusty's going to introduce himself in just a little bit, but let me tell you the protocol. We are on Coffee and Conversations. We are on Facebook Live. So during the Zoom meeting, if you'd like to ask questions of the speaker, you can raise your hand or interrupt or put it in the chat box. If you are on Facebook Live, type your question into Laura and she'll repeat it to Rusty so he can get it answered for you. So with that, I'm Dan Bates, President and CEO, Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. Laura Merrill is with us also from the Chamber. She's going to be monitoring everything. And now that you know who we are, we want to find out who all of you are. So we're going to start with Sandy. You want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, Sandy Kusnoff with Frank's Glass. We're a full service glass company. We do automobile, residential, and commercial glass.
Thank you. Chris.
I'm Chris Cannell. I'm coordinator of community outreach for the Hamilton City Schools.
Thank you. Ben.
Good morning. Ben Cornish with First Financial Bank, community outreach and financial wellness specialist.
Scott.
Good morning, Scott Alverson with Saxon. We handle employee benefits for any company size 2 to 100 employees.
Okay, thank you. Beth.
Good morning, Beth Reisner with Butler County DD. I'm our Employment Services Coordinator.
Thanks, Beth. And did I miss anybody besides Rusty?
You did. Candace popped on here.
Okay, Candace, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Candace Jones. I'm Senior Managing Partner at WH Steiner. We specialize in retirement saving solutions.
Cool. Thank you for joining us. So if we have everyone introduced, we're going to move forward with the presentation. So Rusty, you want to introduce yourself, your company, and tell us a little bit about what we're in for.
Sure. So my name is Rusty Allison. Welcome, everybody. I'm with Advanced Online Insights, and we started up in 2017, 18. Joe Danzer, some of you might remember, Joe is the actual owner of the company. When COVID hit, or actually long before COVID hit, he and I ventured out and started a couple companies, and this was one of them. With the mission to coach and train companies and businesses and even organizations in the public sector on how to leverage Google and that platform, mostly Google Business Profiles, which is the old Google My Business, if you remember. Since we've expanded our business to virtual experiences, 360-degree imagery, both on an interior and exterior, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. We've also expanded nationwide, so we've done these types of services as far south as Miami, Florida, as far west as LA, California. So we're growing. But today, what we're going to talk about is the Google Business Profile, and I'm sure most of you guys remember the old Google My Business or Google Plus. Is there anybody on here that doesn't remember what that is or was? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Webinars are so much different than being in person because you don't get that feedback. So I'm assuming that everyone remembers what that is. Well, if you don't already know, the old Google My Business has now rebranded to Google Business Profiles. Kind of a similar thing. It's the same platform. However, there have been quite a few changes. And as many of you guys probably know, Google is not great about communicating some of these changes to everyone. So what ends up happening is you're just kind of left to figure this stuff out on your own. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of review some of those changes. I'm going to give you a general background of what it is, just to kind of refresh now that we're on the other side of COVID and people are starting to look at what's more customer facing, because customers are going to want to come into the facilities more these days. We're going to talk about what that was, what it is now, and what those changes are. And then we're going to talk about some of the best practices that it's going to take to manage this moving forward. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen over. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
I can.
You can? Okay, wonderful. All right. All right, so just so we can put this on there for all the folks that are looking on the webinar. So here's what we're going to be talking about: the Google business profile changes, things like that. Okay, and I'm going to try to leave. We've got about an hour, or a little less than an hour.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to leave plenty of time for questions and things like that at the end, because again, the good news is I don't have to spend a lot of time explaining what the Google business profile is. So if you remember, when you used to search your business on Google, and if you haven't done this, it's going to be important that you do this, because this little panel on the right-hand side of your screen is what pops up. That's the old Google My Business. If you don't know the importance of this, if any those of you on the call or watching Facebook that are old enough to remember before the internet, the customers only had to go through one door to get to you, and that was your front door. Well, fast forward to the internet and websites became a big thing. Well, now, in order for a customer to do business before they get through your front door, they had to go through your website door. Now, they didn't have to, they could just walk down the street, but as human beings, we want to check things out before we actually go. So websites became that next door that they actually had to pass through before they were going to do business with you. And if your website wasn't appealing, if it didn't search well, if it wasn't exciting or interesting for them to move into, they were probably going to choose someone else. Well, fast forward to Google Plus, we're going to kind of bundle all of this together. So Google Business Profiles, the old Google My Business, and I'll continue to refer to it for a while that way, because even me, I still call it Google My Business. Old habits die hard. Excuse me. So you fast forward to that. Well, now your customers actually have 3 doors that they got to go through before they get face to face with you. The first place they're going to land on is this Google business profile that's on the front page of Google, even before your website. This is your first introduction, your first impression to the world. So if this doesn't look right, if it doesn't have the content that they're looking for, or some compelling story to be told here at the front page, then they may not go to your website. And if they don't go to their website, they're less likely to go to you, unless they just happen to be walking down the street and walk in. And there's something to be said for that. But those people are going to get to you anyway. We're trying to capture potential customers and clients and patients that are online searching for you right now. Okay. So that's why this Google Business Profile is now being kind of referred to as your single most important piece of marketing content that you have, even before your website. Because remember, people don't necessarily know what your website is. My wife she loves to shop at Kohl's. She knows very good and well that Kohl's is KOHLS.com. But she doesn't type in Kohl's.com to go to that. She goes to Google, types in Kohl's, and this is the first thing that she sees, is whichever one is the closest to her. Okay. So that's why this is so critically important. Then from there, they decide whether they want to click onto your website button, or if they want to abandon the search and go look for something else. Okay. Okay, so I know I can't see everybody. Sandy, I'm going to cue off of you a little bit since I can actually see your face. Sandy's going to speak for the entire group here. No pressure, Sandy. Do you guys remember this this layout for Google Business, for Google My Business? Does everyone remember?
Yes.
Scott, Candace, everybody remember this?
Yes.
Yep.
So you had, all these links that you could manage this stuff. You also had a mobile app that you could use to manage things. Has anyone tried to log onto that mobile app lately?
No.
I have not.
Well, you will quickly find if you try to that it's not there. Okay, so Google has sunset that Google app. They've also sunset what you're seeing right now, this dashboard. It's just not being used anymore. And instead, all of these links and all of this information that was so nice and tightly integrated is now being put on the Google search page. So in order for you to manage your Google business profile now, you actually have to go Google yourself. You can't just open up your dashboard like you used to and bypass Google search and Google Maps. It's sitting right here. And as you can see, everything that used to be in a nice tidy little line is now in this nice tidy little box. You can add photos, you can add products. Everything is going to be contained right here. Has anybody started using this yet?
I have not,
No?
but I will after we get done.
Right. Well, I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a review of all this stuff. So that's the first big change that's happened is the app is no longer being used, and as well as the old dashboard is no longer being used. Now everything is on Google search. So we're going to go ahead and click into this and kind of go live. You guys know, if you guys have seen me speak before, I love doing things live because it keeps things interesting. It's almost inevitable. I'm going to stumble onto something that they changed that I didn't even know before this presentation. So it just happens that way. So all of these links are going to go into what you remember. So if you need to edit your profile, click there, and now you get a pop-up with everything. And you can move across these depending on what you're looking to do. Now, you also have these three little dots, and we're going to come back to this, okay? Because these three little dots up here actually have options underneath it in some of these. Okay. Same thing with reviews. Everything's going to be in reviews. Now, one of the changes you're going to probably see here is now they're going to put in some of these keywords that people most often mention about you. So if we're looking at advanced online insights, people talk, I can filter this out by people who have mentioned the word Google in our reviews. So if you're trying to search for, all right, we need to figure out what the lowest review is that contains Google, we can then go down through that and filter by those, or sort and filter by those things. So it enables you to manage your reviews a little bit more tightly versus just kind of randomly replying and things like that. So that brings us to a best practices number one is, and you guys have already heard this, if you're already doing this, you're good to go. Some of the folks maybe on Facebook Live may not be doing this, but you want to respond to every single review you get, and you want to respond in a timely manner, preferably 24 to 48 hours. The sooner, the better. If you get a negative review, please, please, please always respond to that in a professional way. Be courteous, but try to get it offline. If you've been in business for any, any amount of time, you're going to get a negative review, right? Sandy, have you ever gotten a negative review?
Absolutely.
Yep. And Sandy's one of the best in the biz. So we all get them. So you got it. Sometimes you just got, the problem with negative reviews is not that you get a negative review. It's that in today's keyboard commando society where people feel so empowered and bulletproof behind a keyboard because they know you can't see them, they will tell you stuff about your mother you didn't know was true. Okay, so you got to be very, very mindful of if you start to feel your temperature rise because of some of these things, take a step back, take your 24 hours, then go back and respond, but get it offline. Okay. Messages. So has anybody used messages before? This is where when you go in and you enable messaging on your Google business profile, it enables people outside of your organization, people who find you online, to actually text right to you. Now, it's not necessarily going to publish your number. You can have it published, but if you don't have your cell phone published, it won't publish it. But they can actually text right to you and ask questions. Okay. Now, the first thing you're going to see on here is somebody said, "Are there any hidden fees?" Now, this is going to be one of the first remember when I said that Google does not do a very good job of communicating changes, things like that. So this is going to be one of those little hidden gems that people don't realize that you can now do, and it's brand new to the Google Business Profile. So, are there any good hidden fees? So we're talking about our service as a virtual tour. So we answered nope for the Google virtual tours. Your 360 tour lives on the Google Business Pro for free, and we go through that. Okay, we can link in our website. Then Gary asked, why should I use ALI instead of one of your competitors? Well, we highlight 3 reasons. Okay, and so we go down through there. Okay, now he put this on here at 3:30 a.m. in the morning. I was not awake at 3:30 in the morning. Okay, but you'll see that this response came at 3:30 in the morning. So that's the first little thing that Google now allows you to do, is they allow you to put FAQs in your messages. So by remember I said we were going to come back to those 3 little dots. So when you click onto that, now instead of help and support and feedback, you have chat settings that you can go into. You turn on your chat, send read receipts. You can send a welcome message, and then you've got this new little feature here called Add FAQs, and you can go in and add your FAQs and the answers that would go along with it. So if we say, how much does a virtual tour cost? That's the question I'm going to put in that someone might ask, and this is the answer that I gave to them. So now my Google business profile is now working for me 24/7. I don't have to worry about answering these questions at 3:30 in the morning when for whatever reason, Mr. Gary decided that was when he wanted to ask these questions. And who knows, it could be a bot. I don't know who Gary is. I responded back to him that next morning, haven't heard back. So he may have gotten all the information he needs. But you can add more in here if you need to. Question, automated response. And Google will tell you how many characters you have. Okay, any questions on that right now?
Is there any benefit to not having the chat operational?
Yeah, you won't get notified at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I can see that. Or how do those notifications come?
They come through your text messaging. So I
Okay.
got it on my text message.
So if I'm a business that's not tied to my phone necessarily, I would still be able to get those notifications.
Well, as long as whatever phone you're using has messaging tied to it.
Okay.
Obviously, if someone's trying to text you, I mean, you can put a phone number in there, but if there's no text messaging, you're never going to get this.
Okay.
Okay.
That
So
makes sense.
that's one of those things where, you know, when you set it up, you know, it'll tell you, you know, standard text messaging. I don't know who pays for text messaging anymore, but you know, it's all
Right.
they-
Well, I
think
guess when
Go ahead.
it's, you know, something versus a corporation versus being a sole proprietor or a small business.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, if you've got a cell phone plan, I don't know what cell phone plans out there don't have texting already included.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think
Yeah,
not the
but Russ,
texting part.
I
I'm just
think-
thinking like, who's going to receive it?
I think it's
Oh, yeah.
I think it's an interesting point though, because a lot of small businesses, you know, they have a landline for their business, you know, so
Yep.
they would have to then make sure that their personal cell phone is connected to that landline or something.
Not necessarily. So
Okay.
you can so your messaging cell phone number is different than the phone number that's going to be sitting right here. So
Okay.
for instance, this number right here is the landline number that the business would put in for their Google business profile that they want the world to see.
Right.
But the messaging number would be, say, the owner's cell phone or their administrative assistant's cell phone or their
Okay.
general manager's cell phone. So
But that won't
it's-
be made public.
no, it's
Okay.
not public. No. Okay. Any other questions on that? And by the way, if you do find something that's inappropriate, you can always report it or just can it.
So you can delete messages?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I leave this one in here because it was serendipitously, it works for this presentation.
So I guess that little garbage can up there is where you would delete that then?
Yes. Yeah, if I
Okay.
wanted to get rid of the whole conversation, I would just click that. Or if I wanted to report it, I would click that.
So that's
Okay.
an advantage over communicating on Facebook.
Yeah. Yep.
Because if it's inappropriate on Facebook or unfair or whatever, you got to live with it.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever even tried to remove something from
You
Facebook.
can't. You
Oh,
can't.
can you not? Well, it's a little bit like reviews. If you remember in reviews over here, as long as it doesn't violate content policy, Google won't remove it. So it doesn't matter what they say or how much they throw the business under the bus. If it doesn't violate content policy, which is hate speech and stuff like that, which is a very fluid term these days, they're not going to do anything for you.
Yeah, I have an issue with that from a business perspective, but
Oh, so do I.
you know, even though I'm a huge supporter of customer service, sometimes there are things that are just not true.
Yep.
And then that damages the business and they can't get rid of it. And people pile on top of it. And if you knew the whole story, it's like that's not how it played out at all.
Yes, for sure. So what happens is you can go into, so let's say Dalton said something bad that we didn't like, okay? We can go under these dots and we can report the review, okay? And we can tell Google what exactly was the problem.
Okay.
Now, the challenge here is that you can't get specific, like Google's not going to give you the option to just write a dissertation on why you think it's wrong. You have these 7 options that you can put in that have to be, that are defined as against company policy. So sometimes you may say, well, this is off topic, which is kind of your catch-all. Like if they say, well, we don't like the Chamber of Commerce because they don't have a rowing team and they have water on their logo. Well, that's off topic. That's silly. Okay, so that's off topic. It could be spam. There's some stuff in there that you can always put in there. That doesn't mean Google's going to get rid of it,
Right.
but it at least gives you a position to work from. Okay. All right. We're going to go through a number of these fairly quickly. because you can tell what Google prioritizes as important as what they put up in here. So make sure all of your Google profile information is on point and accurate. This business category is one of the most overlooked options in your business information. You have a primary, and then you can have up to 9 other secondary categories. So you might be a bowling alley, but you also might be an entertainment center. You might be a bar. You might be a sports center or pro shop. You know, there are a lot of things in there that you can put in there. So we're a photography service, but we also do training here. We're also a marketing agency of sorts. We're a media consultant. We actually sell software. So there are a number of things that we want to come up in searches. Even if we're a secondary tier or a second tier provider of software, we want to come up into those searches. Okay, so make sure that you're putting this information in. Hours is going to be important. So one of the things that we noticed here when we were looking at Spooky Nook's Google business profile, looks like that they started on some good stuff. They got some products in here, but they didn't put any business hours in there. So Google has no idea if this is a 24-hour location. So if I'm sitting in Lebanon, Ohio, and I decide, hey, you know what? I feel like hitting the batting cages, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. My assumption is that Spooky Nook is open for that if I want to drive 40 minutes over to Spooky Nook from my house. Well, if I drive 40 minutes to Spooky Nook and they're not open at 2 o'clock in the morning for me to do those batting cages, again, my fault. I shouldn't assume that, but we know what customers are, us human beings, we're not going to take that blame. Spooky Nook should have had that on there. And so now all of a sudden they've lost my business because they didn't add their business hours. So it's again, that's not necessarily Spooky Nook's problem if I get in my car and drive over there, but it is on them to put their business hours in, and they haven't done that. So that is important that you have that up there. Any questions about some of this stuff? No. They've also added a lot of these things in here. So a lot of people are like, well, what else could I put other, what does more mean? These are attributes. So if you've ever gone into one of these things and you'll see an area down in here where it'll say attributes, it might say veteran-owned business or LGBTQ friendly or something like that, okay? That's where this is going to fall. These are attributes that you can put in here, okay? So the only thing I generally tell people about attributes is to use whatever is best for your marketing, okay? You don't have to fill out every single thing. If you're, I put this on here, doesn't identify as woman-owned, doesn't identify as veteran-owned, okay? Because none of us are veterans or women here, okay? Well, the owner's not women or a veteran. So I put that on there, but I don't have to put that there. Now, if I'm Sandy and I own the glass company, I may want to put woman-owned on there because there are businesses that have in their mission or in their policies that they want to do business with women-owned businesses or veteran-owned businesses. And this is a way for them to be able to see that whenever they're searching for small businesses to do business with. So you want to make sure that you're putting that in whenever possible.
Rusty, I have a question on that.
Yes, sir.
So you can just write in there, it's not a drop down of choices.
No, it's actually a drop down.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes. So for instance, has wheelchair accessible restroom, okay? Or has wheelchair accessible seating, okay? So you just select yes or no on here. Amenities, same thing.
Oh, okay.
Has gender neutral restroom, yes or no, okay? And in crowd. So you can put in, and what will happen is a lot of times this stuff will start empty. And then as Google learns more and more and more about your business, these things will start to populate. So it's always a good idea, maybe a couple times a year, to pop into these and see if there's anything in there that you want to forward out. Okay. Now I will tell you this. If you select one of these, let's go up here to here. Okay. So if you select one of these things, once it's selected, I don't know that you can unselect it. So that's why we always tell everybody, be very conscious of what you're selecting in here, because once you select it and hit save, there's no going back. So if you're veteran owned and you sell and it's no longer veteran owned, it's still going to say veteran owned. Okay. All right. So let's come down we got about 20 more minutes. So I'm going to go through some of these very quickly. We're going to come back to photos in a second, because there's two things on this Google Business Profile that are the most important things outside of your edit profile button. So the most important thing is making sure that all this information is correct. That's the most important thing. Because if that's not correct, it doesn't really matter what else is correct or incorrect on there. But there are two other things as well. Performance. Does everybody have Google Analytics set up on their website? So if you don't, I highly recommend it. However, Google Analytics does not measure the traffic out here. The only traffic Google Analytics measures is the traffic that's coming to the website from this panel. So you have performance metrics that are designed, that Google gives you up to 6 months of it, that go into that are specifically designed for this Google Business Profile. Okay. Now, if you're a larger high volume business or a multi-location business, that's where we can come in with software to help you manage that, because it can get depending on how much traffic you have or how many locations you have, it can get really taxing to try to manage all those locations. And once that 6 months is done in your up here, so you can go up to 6 months. Once that's done, it's a rolling 6 months. So once you get into March, September falls off and you never get that data back again, unless you're handwriting them down into a spreadsheet or something like that. That's where our software comes in. We track that indefinitely for you. Okay. But we're just talking about this for now. So this is where you're going to learn where all of this stuff, where people are coming from. This is going to be very important. This is where you find out the search results based on the keywords that people are putting into Google. So all of these numbers here, so we come up in 5,700 searches over the last 30 days or whatever that was segmented, when people would search for us, use the term Google Maps. And that's because we update Google Street View and things like that. Which I got to talk with Spooky Nook, because as you can see, we update Google Street View and they haven't gotten that updated yet. So we need to talk to them about that. But all of this is a good way for you to diagnose your marketing. Okay. Any questions on that? Nope. You can advertise. We don't run Google Ads. We have a partner company that we use. We'll run Google Ads for large multi-location, like for instance, Humana Healthcare, tire discounters. These are some of our clients that we run Google Ads for, but that's handled out of our separate location. Products. This is where you can actually go in and put in products that you sell. So let's see, Scott, you're in the financial side of the business?
Yeah, insurance.
Yep. So you can go in and create product categories and create products in there so that people can research this. How many of you guys have heard of the theory of zero click? Anybody? So if you will note, or just to give you a quick time or a background history on this, it used to be the only thing on this panel was your phone number, some reviews, your address, and your web address. Maybe did I already say that? There were like 4 or 5 things, and that's all it was. Okay, where are you? Are you any good? How do I get a hold of you? That type of a thing, right? And are you open? Hours. Okay. So now, as you'll notice, you can put products in here. You can create social media posts and things like that go in here. So there's a ton of stuff that goes on here. They'll tell you about popular times and your categories and all these different things. Okay. It becomes really, really important. Zero click is Google's, whether it's spoken or not, it's kind of Google's moving away from websites and into this Google business profile. If you go to a restaurant, so if I look up, here we'll do, what's our restaurant over in Hamilton? Basil?
Yep.
That'll work.
Yep.
Basil 1791.
Okay, so let's look that up. Okay. So if you guys look at this, is there any reason that you can think of that I would go to their website based on what you see on the screen right now?
To look at the menu.
Yeah,
Menu's right there.
right, it's there.
Phone numbers here, reservations are here, hours are here, where they are. Do they have dine-in? Yep, they have dine-in. Does it tell me?
So when you click on the menu, it doesn't go to their website?
It goes to livewireorders.com. So no.
So you don't need to go to the website.
Do not need to go to their website for any reason. Oh, what's it look like inside there? I got plenty of stuff I can look at. In fact, somebody even took a 360 in there. So I can get a pretty decent idea. Wow, that's a big pig right there, man. So I can get a pretty good idea of what this place looks like. Okay. So really, there's no reason. I'm not going to find anything over here other than maybe careers that I'm not going to see right here. So that's zero click. Google's trying to get you the information you need without having to click any further than this profile. Remember what I said in the beginning? It's the single most important piece of marketing content you have. That's why. All right. So because of all that, you can add products in here. You can add services, things like that. So you can go in and edit and add services that you provide. Bookings, if you're if you take bookings, if you're a salon, if you're a financial planner, or I don't know if financial planners have it in there, but something that's very, very service oriented, I guess a financial planner or an insurance agent would be in there, but you can take bookings. Okay. There's order online. Let's see what else would be over in Hamilton. Let's do salons in Hamilton. Request an appointment right there. So you can actually go to appointments from there. Okay, so a lot of cool things you can do with this. Calls, you can track your calls. Okay, we don't have that actually set up right now. Q&As, very important that you pay attention to your Q&As, okay? People believe that these Q&As down here, questions and answers, people think that that is the FAQ function, or they think it's a live chat. So what they'll do is they'll click on ask a question and they'll ask something. You know, hey, Sandy, are you guys open on Saturday mornings? Or hey, Scott, do you come on location or do we have to come to you? And they'll add this stuff in there thinking it's a live chat. If they don't hear back from you quickly, they're off to the next client because they don't think you're paying attention to them. Okay. So now the other thing you want to make sure is that you don't get some bad stuff put into those Q&As, because we've seen companies that people will put things in there that are highly inappropriate or they're just straight up wrong. And because the company doesn't know that's there, they're not paying attention to it, and they're losing so much business. So, you know, hey, are you guys pet friendly? Well, no one ever answers that. So the assumption is, well, they must not be, they didn't answer. So they go to the next place. Okay. And we've seen some really bad stuff get put into there. People, some really negative, hateful things get put in there because people think that's some sort of an online forum. Okay. So be very careful of that. Updates are posts, and then ask for reviews. All right. So here's where we're going to go with this. The two most important things you guys can do for your Google business profile, and this has not changed since we started all of this. Get at minimum 10 reviews as quickly as you can. And then you want to start adding, depending on the volume of business you do, add a new review once a month, once a week, once a day, depending on what your business model is. So if you're a restaurant, you should probably be getting at least a review a day. If you're the Hamilton Chamber, a review a month is fine. Okay, you guys aren't a turn and churn type style business. Okay, if you're a financial advisor, probably once a week, a couple times a month, something like that. Okay, Candace, what's your business?
I am also in advanced insurance market products.
Okay, oh, same thing. Okay, so just constantly be moving towards these things and ask for these reviews. Google gives you a link that you can copy and send that out into an email and say, hey, my name's Candace. I would like to, invite you to give me a room. So glad that we had you. Encourage them to write content in your review, because if all you get is a 5-star, that's nice. It does not help you in search because the reviews are searchable. So you want to get them content. So if you're a dentist, you might say, hey, tell everybody tell the world, or write us a review about how much you love your new white smile. Okay. Or whatever. So you want to give them some talking points for that. All right. So reviews, number one, most important thing, photos. Google leans hard into imagery. So you want to put at minimum 10 great images up. Now, Candace and Scott, you guys are going to suffer from the exact same thing that we do. And really, probably a lot of times that the chamber does is there's only so many stock photos of handshakes and smiling clients that you can stick up on there. People like, yeah, we know what you do. So you got to get creative, because Google prioritizes stock photos very low. It needs to be organic, and and if you're going to put a customer there, you need to make sure that you get permission, but it never hurts to have a nice smile with your arm around your brand new customer or something like that. But get organic photos. Again, one new photo a month is good. One new photo a week is even better. Okay. All right. So let me kind of back off here a little bit. You've seen, the best thing for you to do is to go through and familiarize yourself. If you see these 3 little dots, go into them. You got all kinds of things that you can go in here and mess around with. Okay. You got all these. If you're a multi-location, you can go down through here and choose whatever locations you want to work on. Business profile settings. This is where your managers are. So You know, if Dan wants to give Laura management on the profile for Hamilton Chamber, this is where he's going to go into it. He's going to go in and click manager, and he's going to make them a manager. A word of caution, 2 words of caution, actually. Keep that list of managers as small as possible. Because the more you have on there, if you have a falling out, they can go in and absolutely wreck you, because managers can do a lot of stuff on there that even the owner can do. Okay. That includes going into all those beautiful reviews that you got and responding in a very negative way. So make sure you keep it and if you let go of somebody, get them off of there immediately. Okay. All right.
Rusty, I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you said to add 1 new photo a week, do you just continually add photos, or do you take some off, add some on, switch it up that way?
I would just continually add, because if you're only doing it once a week, you're going to end up at the end of the year with 52 photos or 50 photos or something like that. And you can have hundreds on there. You're not going to outrun Google in terms of those photos. So I would just continue to add.
Does it show your most recent, like what you uploaded most recently? Does it show that first, or does it just cycle through them?
No. Okay. So in the photos for Google randomize. Well, they don't randomize. They organize them based on their own criteria. Okay. And Google doesn't publish that. That's why if I go into, let's go back to Basil here. If I go into these photos here, it's going to go down through here, and I've got categories. So if I'm a user, I can go in and say, hey, what's the vibe of this place look like? And Google sorts these based on the vibe. Okay. They sort it based on the menu, food and drink, because Google Cloud Vision, which is what they use to interpret what's in an image, is that smart. If I show this to the Google Cloud Vision, it will know this is a coffee mug. It will also be able to read the words on this coffee mug. Okay. And it'll know, oh, that needs to go into the food and drink category. So AI is scary stuff, y'all. I'm telling you. But
I also have a question, Rusty.
Yes, ma'am.
For videos, where do you post your videos?
Same place. Same place. So you'll go into add a photo, and you can put them right in here. Select photos or videos. Okay. Now there are policies for photos and video for videos particularly. Okay. Videos need to be 30 seconds or less and less than 100 megabytes in size. Now, I've seen videos longer than 30 seconds get uploaded. I've seen several minute videos get there. I tell everybody the same thing. Enjoy it while it's there. But if Google ever does this big sweep and takes them off, just be thankful they were there. They were out of policy to begin with. Okay. So, but that's where you would put them. Okay. The photos that we were talking about adding, make sure that these photos are good quality. They're crisp, high quality, high res photos. That will ensure that they're up towards the top. Okay. All right. So reviews and photos, those are your important things. And what I'm going to do is, if I can talk Laura into a list of everyone that participated on the call today, I'm going to send out a PDF. It's all these Google Business Profiles best practices that you guys can reference on a daily, monthly, week. You can print them off. It's not very long. It's like 9 pages, but one thing per page. Okay, so you can just print it off and put it on your desk and go, oh yeah, I gotta check my reviews today, or whatever that might be. Okay.
Thank you, Rusty. Thanks.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Other questions? Any questions? I guarantee I wasn't that thorough, but thank you.
Well, I think we kind of talked about having some other workshops later too, so
Yep.
we can delve into any specific questions. And Rusty, if you'd like to give them your contact information.
Yes. Well, my contact information for the business is right here. So the address, phone number. Now I'm going to give you my cell phone number, which I have not written down, so you guys can actually write this down. Just it is 513-404-0460. It's something that I didn't do over here on my presentation, is I don't have my actual phone number printed off. By the way, all this stuff works in mobile as well.
Rusty, I think you were thorough, but I think the real issue here is we're all sitting here going, oh my gosh, I have a lot to do.
Yes. Hence the reason I'm sending that PDF out to everyone. So actually, you probably don't have as much to do as you think. Like I said, reviews and photos are going to get you there. Okay, that's what you want to see. The real thing is fresh, relevant content. So just remember, fresh, relevant content. If you remember that, then you just lean into it. So look at your Google business profile and think, this month, have I put anything new? Have I requested for a new, a new review? Don't depend on customers, clients, and patients doing it on their own. You need to request it. Otherwise, you probably, very few industries get it. Financial industry, for sure, nobody's going to give you a review unless you ask for it. Okay. Same for our business. Same for the chamber. Okay. If Basil was on here, Basil would be like, no, we never ask, because restaurants are one of those industries that they're going to get it whether they want it or not. And sometimes it's not a great thing. Okay.
I have a quick question about that. Sometimes my phone will say, I see that you visited this such and such place, and prompt me to review.
Yep.
How does that happen?
So that is Google's location services tracking you, and it just knows that you were there. So that's Google's way of giving you a fun way to confirm that you were at that place. So let's say you go to Basil. Well, Basil is nestled in between multiple businesses, right? Well, Google, their accuracy is pretty close, but they don't know if you parked in front of Basil and walked down to something else, or if you actually went into there. So they're going to send you this thing. Hey, tell us how Basil was, or write a review. Well, if you write the review, then that helps them confirm, okay, Candace was there. We can improve our accuracy now. Okay. And there's a lot of these little tricks and stuff like that they do to do that. But I sign up for this thing called Google Rewards, and I get all the time these questions and stuff like that, and it gives me Google Pay money. So you'll find out, like, I have $30 in Google Pay money. There are some restaurants out there, there are not many of them, but they'll say, we take Google Pay. So I could go in there just by answering a bunch of questions, and I can go have a lunch and use my cell phone and have it paid for just by answering questions. So there's a lot of interesting little things there. What else? I know we're at our 10 o'clock mark. I'm okay to go for a few more minutes if everyone else is, but
well, I have a question, Laura. Maybe you've already taken care of this. I think that we need to do some specific workshops where people can, attend, and you actually walk them through a lot of these stages, because what to you is very simple. My head is spinning right now. So hi, Darla. Darla joined us. Hi. Good to see you. So this is it's relatively simple, but it's not, because there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of depth. And I guess the thing that I would be most concerned, not only with the chamber, but with my own business, I was afraid for you to look up Alexander's because I'm like, I don't know what we have done and haven't done.
Oh, so now I'm gonna have to.
So, it's like, but you don't want to screw it up either. So that's a challenge.
Alexander's Deli.
That's it.
Let's check them out. All right, so
Looking good.
105, 4.3, that looks good. They got your dine-in located in StarTech Hamilton. Got your address. Got your hours, so that's good. Menu is on Facebook. Is that?
Not good.
Gotta get the menu there. Let's see if the website is connected. Yep. So what they can do on the menu is they can go to this menu page, copy this link, and just drop it into this right here. So that way it doesn't go to business.facebook.com.
Right.
Okay. You got your popular times. This is all based on, so back to what Candace was asking. This right here populates based on the fact that you went to Basel. So this is all location tracking here. You don't influence this. They got your reviews here. They don't have their business. I mean, they got a few things down here. I would put a lot more into this, Dan. You've got 750 characters that you can fill this out. They probably got 100 characters. So I would go and I would add some stuff to that. See if this Facebook goes to the right place. Yep, there you go. So it looks good. It's fine. I mean, it could go. There's plenty of stuff it could do. For instance, they could go down here and add posts, add an update. So add an update, add a button like order online or call now or book or whatever, and then add a photo. Anytime you guys do posts, always add photos. We are a very, very visual driven society. And if you want to watch your analytics tank, stop using photos.
So Rusty,
Right,
on those,
Karma? What's that, Sandy?
on the part you were just in, one of them used to, like, after 30 days, it went away. So you had to keep updating those. Are those the posts? And does it still do that?
Yes, it does do that. So it used to be, if you remember, Sandy, it used to be 7 days. So it would deprecate in 7 days. They moved that up to 30 days, I believe. Now people I think the reason they did that is people got kind of wise to it, because they would just go in, if they wanted something to stay up longer, they would just make it an event, because events stay up for the duration of the event. So if you wanted it to stay up for 6 months, you just put that event 6 months out and make it an update, So I think Google's like, all right, people are gaming the system. Let's make it 30 days instead of 7 days.
Well, it was hard to remember to go in every 7 days and update those.
Yeah, it was. And this stuff, remember, even though, like, for instance, we don't have anything that's current on ours, customers and viewers and searchers can still go into the view all and they can see all the posts. They don't go away unless you go in here and you delete it. Okay. So it'll stay in there and people can still see it, but you really need to remember fresh, relevant content. So you really want to be able to be adding a post a week or a post every couple weeks, so that you're triggering that Google AI to say, hey, I'm still alive, I'm still in business, I'm still working. That's what happens when you go through it, like Dan and Laura and Tiffany will tell you. We used to do these 3-hour-long workshops for the chamber members, and we would go through and fully optimize these virtual Google business profiles. And everybody would come out of there in the next 30 to 60 days, man, there was all this SEO juice that would hit and people would start showing up in rankings and stuff like that. And then no one would continue that process of adding photos and getting new reviews and things like that. And then what would happen is all that would trail back off. So that's why you want to continue to keep things moving, keep adding photos, keep adding reviews, keep adding posts, add products and services and things like that. We have a chat. Oh, Candace, thank you, Candace. Okay,
So, Rusty, I have a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
No stupid
humiliate
questions.
myself in front of everyone. If you have no access to your Google, how do you change that? So, we bought a business, we didn't get all the passwords and all that kind of stuff. And so I can't even get into my Google page for Alexander's.
Okay, so what you're going to do is when you look it up, you're going to see this little link right here that says own this business. So we're going to click on it. And you're going to say request access. So whoever is currently managing it is whoever that is. So it's geo blah, blah, blah at, and it's not going to be a Gmail. So because otherwise it would say gmail.com. So it's whoever this is who has access to it.
Which we have no idea.
Right. So what you're going to do is you're going to click request access.
Okay.
And it's going to go into a queue. At that point, whoever owns this is going to have an option because they're going to get an email that's going to say, Dan Bates is requesting access to this. Okay. Because when you hit request access, it may, here, let's give it a shot. It may, yeah, it's going to ask for the access level. You want ownership.
Right.
Do you own the business?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. You want ownership, relationship owner. You're going to fill out all of this. Okay. I'm not going to do that. But you're going to walk through that whole process and request access. That person's going to get an email from Dan that said, or whatever email you put in there that says they're asking for ownership. They can either do nothing, in which case after a few weeks, this thing just kind of goes back into the wild and you can go claim it on your own. Okay. They can grant you access, which is, yep, I don't own this, give it to Dan. Okay. If you, or they can dispute it and say, nope, I'm currently marketing this. Okay. In which case you're going to want to contact me because that's a whole different process.
Okay.
Yep. Sometimes marketing companies will hold these things hostage and it gets really ugly.
Because we've been able to make some changes on Google by verifying with Google what's already on our website, like hours and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Because all of this stuff here, you can suggest, anybody can suggest an edit. So you can quasi manage this by going under here and changing name or other details, but you're not going to be able to put up posts and, you know, I mean, you can put photos in there and stuff like that, but it's, your access and control is very limited.
That helps because that's why there haven't been any changes.
Right. Exactly. But if you have vested interest in the business, you can still go in and add photos because it's still going to, you know, this photo was put in there 3 years ago.
Right.
So, you know, it's still going to give you juice, so to speak. And believe it or not, Google actually prioritizes other people's imagery over the owner's imagery because it's deemed as more organic. So you could put the most beautiful production style photos up there and Google's going to say, yes, that's gorgeous. We're going to make that your cover photo, but we're going to give the most weight to Darla's phone shot that she took at the menu from her iPhone.
I've literally had that happen, Rusty. I was at a place here on the island and I just took a picture of the place. I thought, well, I'm just going to promote them, just give them some, you know, little accolade. And I just said, you know, love coming here. This is a great place. I'm getting the statistics saying that it's like, thank you so much. This has reached 4,000 people.
Yes.
So it works.
Yeah, you'll be surprised at what people are attracted to in those photos. And like, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more about getting more people to promote you. So it's helping if you can get people to endorse you, especially since you've got a cafe or restaurant. highly recommend you doing that.
Yep.
Dan.
All right.
So Rusty, when you suggest an edit, does the owner of that have to approve that, or it just automatically changes it?
Okay, that's a great question. Generally speaking, it's going to automatically change it depending on the person who's putting it in their clout with Google. So there are these things called guides, Google guides, of which I'm one of them. And the higher up that Google guide is on the proverbial ladder, the more likely that edit is going to change without you even knowing it, okay? This again is one of the reasons why you want to be visiting yourself, Google yourself every single day, because there may have changes get put on there that you didn't approve. So, you know, I've seen phone numbers change, I've seen addresses change.
That seems pretty dangerous.
You know what? It's one of those things that I depart from Google's business philosophy on, because I feel like if this is Alexander's panel and I'm Alexander's and I'm Dan and I have access to all of this, I'm controlling it. I don't think it is in the best interest of the company of Alexander's to allow somebody to come in and make a change without me approving it. Okay. Now, on the other hand, this panel does not belong to you. It does not belong to Alexander's. This panel belongs to Google. Alexander's is just influencing the information. Okay. So this is not an asset that you can actually say, I own this panel. So I understand where they're coming from. And a lot of times that the reason that is in there is because it's crowdsourced information. So
I guess,
for instance, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say my challenge here is, with all of the communication and information, everything that's going around,
Yep.
On the one hand, it's very positive and really can drive businesses forward. On the other hand, and Laura mentioned this earlier, small business owners don't have staff and stuff to do this. So, they are trying to run a business, and, I'll throw myself out there as an example. This is, Alexander's is not my full-time job, so by the time I do the behind the scenes stuff and payroll and QuickBooks and all that kind of stuff, that's all the time I really, and the shopping every weekend, that's it for my concentration on that business. My partner is busy running the business, making the sandwiches, running the staff, doing all that kind of stuff. So, it's one more thing to add to the list. It's harder and harder and harder to be a small business owner this day and age. So even though we're on the one hand doing things that encouraging small business owners, we're making it near impossible for them to survive. When you say, this is something you have to check every day, I'm like, well, now I'm checking LinkedIn every day, I'm checking Facebook every day, and now I'm checking Google every day for the business and personally and the chamber. It's like, when do you have time to actually do the business?
Well, that's when you hire people like Darla.
It's very challenging. We are almost making it impossible for businesses to survive in the current, environment of commerce.
It is. It makes it very taxing on a business owner to do things like that. And I don't have a great answer for you. Now, I was joking a little bit about, hey, that's when you hire somebody like Darla, but there's truth to that.
Yep.
But at the same time, the business has to be far enough in its business cycle to be able to afford Darla.
That's right.
And now, some of that is somewhat scalable because you figure, well, if I'm a fairly new business, now restaurants aside, because restaurants are a whole different animal, but if I'm a new financial advisor that just set up my, put my shingle out, a month ago, chances are I don't have so much business coming in that I can't do all of that. Okay. Now, restaurants, again, a little bit different. You bought into Alexander's, they already had an established customer base and as soon as you got put in there, you got dropped into a bath full of piranha, right? So you got to be on point all the time. That's when someone like a Dan Bates needs to engage with someone who can do this at an economical level, and that it's worth it to the business to say, okay, I need for you to manage some of this marketing stuff, but I need to keep reins on you fairly tight until I get more confidence that you know what you're doing and it's economical for me.
Right.
So I understand where you're coming from, and I don't envy your position, I promise.
Well, I think it kind of makes me chuckle because you have all these creators of all this who have no idea what it takes to run a small business.
Agreed.
To them, oh, this is easy, just do XYZ, well, it's finding the time to do XYZ,
Yes.
And you're absolutely right that if you don't respond to something right away, people are like, well, you didn't respond. I sent you a message, yesterday. It's like, well, give me a freaking break. So
right.
it's just I just feel the frustration that a lot of our small business owners feel, not just, restaurant, retail, those are tough businesses, and they're so demanding on the owner's time to begin with, because once that you unlock that front door and the curtain goes up, all of this has to go aside because you have to be 100% on board for the customers who actually walk in the door.
Yes.
Can I make a observation, suggestion? One of the things I was going to say is, working with thank you, one, for mentioning me, Rusty. And I would tell you that there are definitely marketing people like myself who will do strategy work, consulting work on small packages, things like that, that are within your budget. So so keep that in mind when you're thinking about, okay, I can't do all this and I need to hire somebody, but I can't afford someone. Don't think that it's not possible, because it is. But there's also strategy. I'm working with a client right now in Pennsylvania, and they are a small cafe. And we're talking about doing a strategy where we can include their team so that they become advocates. So maybe they have their phone and they take a picture of what's going on in the deli, or a smiling customer, and letting them also help you to market the business or give you the content that you could do it. There's different strategies that maybe you could do that would be cost effective as well. So I just wanted to point that out to you.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, there's Dan, there's no shortage of people like Darla and myself that are happy to help with whatever we can at competitive and economic prices. And sometimes you get guys like me that, and AO, you guys have worked with us for a long time. The most common comment we always get is, man, you guys need to charge more. But we live in the small business community. We understand what it's like to have to build something like this. So we don't, that's, now if you go to some of these large marketing firms that, these are the sandboxes that I don't necessarily play in, that they're going to have a lot of tools that I don't have access to, but that's a lot of money that you're going to have to pour out as well. So it
does come back to, something I've always believed in. A lot of small business owners get caught up in that they can do things themselves. And, I've always said, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
And, a lot of times hiring a professional consultant in that field in the long run will save you money. I'm just, voicing that, I understand the frustration of small businesses because things are changing at a very rapid rate. And I think for Hamilton businesses right now, it's particularly tough because as they're, embracing a whole new customer base that is coming in from other states, and that's a whole new customer that is probably going to be utilizing these tools more than the home-based customer. Somebody's coming in from, 5 hours away, they're going to be using all these Google tools as a consumer, So, I'm just, my heart goes out, but at the same time, they have to get on board with it. It is, kind of unique to Hamilton that we're in this huge period of change and flux. And, a lot of the small businesses are just not ready for it. And I think it's why we hear businesses closing, because they're like, I just can't do this anymore. Because they're stepping into a world which is changing so rapidly. So I'm glad we're having, like this conversation this morning, and I know we're way over time. But I'm glad we're having this conversation this morning, because I think it's critical that we really need to do a lot more of this. Especially Laura, I'm like leaning on you. We need to do a lot more of this, because I don't think that, I see it because my foot is in both worlds, and I feel the frustration because you just don't have time. And, that was like my fault for taking on a restaurant, but anyway, it's,
you have no one to blame but yourself, Dan.
I have no one to blame but myself. But it's, it's frustrating, because I think if somebody's, let's say somebody has been in business for 50 years, because that's a whole different thing. But if somebody's been in business for 15 years, which is not uncommon, and they're in restaurant or retail or any business, all of a sudden their world has completely changed, and they don't even, it's hard for them to even grasp, I think. So I think that we can't do enough of this type of education and information. And, it's, I'm glad you're back, Rusty. I'm glad to see you back, Darla. I think that we need to do a lot more of really helping businesses understand that they really need people like you to, they can't, you can't open a small business anymore and just hang your shingle out and buy some products and sell it. Those days are gone. And we still have entrepreneurs that come into my office with a business plan, and they're just going to do this, and I feel like the dream killer when I'm sitting there going, this isn't going to work, like, or
get you a Grinch shirt.
Yes, the budget of, you have to budget for this stuff.
Yeah.
And even if it's a small budget, maybe only $400 a month, for somebody to help you. To get you started, but you have to budget for it. It's just as important as the electric bill.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, and even being from a company that has been around 50 years, I have worked with, Rusty's been out there, and I've gone to so many of his seminars. You still have to keep up on the ever-changing things. And we can't invest a lot of money either in going out and doing that. That's my responsibility. So it's very beneficial to small businesses like us to have these type of seminars, and maybe every 6 months, like you said, have a couple hours where everybody goes in with their computer, and we can have an interactive session.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, it's an old term, and Zoom has replaced a lot of the need for face-to-face. However, boot camp comes back to me, and I think that we need to think about regular boot camps where we almost strong arm some of the businesses to come in, because I know they don't know this stuff.
Yeah.
And like Rusty, you said, Google's completely changed. So everybody thinks they know Google. Well, not the Google of today, they don't.
Right. Well, and you've got, there's so many of these philosophies that, I tend to approach it from a bit of a philosophical standpoint, in that, there's so many automation tools out there. Now you got this Chat GPT out there that you can write entire blogs in a matter of seconds and stuff like that, that are supposed to free up time. Okay, that's great. The problem, I think, is a lot of the new business owners, now not anybody on this call, but a lot of the new business owners that are probably coming into your office, Dan, they see this online world that, in all these videos that these people say, man, let me tell you how I made $20,000 a month just using Chat GPT and stuff like that. And I work 5 hours a week, and they think that's what it takes to build and operate a business. At the end of the day, all these tools only supplement rolling up your sleeves and getting to work and putting in the hours and putting in the work. There, now it's never been easier to make money in America, but you still got to work. You can't just lean on technology unless you're willing to invest in the long haul. Then maybe you can do it, but that's not how you build anything of sustainability. So I totally get it. it is what it is, you know, it's technology is not going to stop anytime soon.
Well, I guess what concerns me too is, with all the discussions about AI, AI has been around for a while, but not as the tool that it is going to be going forward, and it's exciting and frightening all at the same time.
Right.
It
You
is.
know?
Yes.
It is. Mhm.
Yes. You're absolutely right.
Morning Chamber of Commerce, this is Dan. How can I help you?
Y'all, I'm sorry I'm late. I thought it started at 10. I apologize.
Nope, you're fine.
Oh, that's okay.
I even checked my calendar again. I'm like, it's 10 o'clock. Okay, I'm good. Because in my mind, I thought 9, but I checked it again. I'm like, okay, 10 o'clock. So my apologies, Rusty. I'm glad this is being recorded so I can go
Yes.
back through, because of course I'm trying to update my Google My Business, and it's
Well,
always
so
something.
if you can always count on one thing from Rusty, it's that I'm going to go over. Okay. So
You little over deliverer, you.
it's under promise and over deliver all the time. So
Darla,
guys,
we're,
I've got to jump on to my next meeting. It has been such a pleasure to see all of you guys again. I can't wait to. Darla, are you still down in Hilton Head?
Heck yeah, come on down.
Oh, I was down there.
I know, we missed you. We tried to connect. You've come back.
I know.
Thanks, Rusty. Good
Thank you,
info.
guys.
yes, thank
Thanks,
you very
everyone.
much. So
Thank you.
Bye.
Darla,
We'll
why
see you
don't
in
you
a
stay
couple
on for a
weeks.
second?
Okay.
Huh?
I asked Darla to stay on for a second. Laura and
Oh,
Tiffany,
okay.
stay
All
on
right.
with
So
Darla.
I'll
Yeah,
take
okay.
off. You guys be
Sounds good.
good.